Okay, welcome back. In this video, I want to discuss match types. Arguably, really is one of the most important things that you can learn in AdWords. And not knowing match types, what they do, and how they work is really why a lot of people fail with AdWords. Because without the proper match types, you can overspend, you get low quality traffic, etc., etc. So, really important concept here. So, in the previous videos, we created campaigns, we did our keyword research. But let's actually go in to our test campaign that we created. And let's go ahead and create a fake ad group here. Let's just do, just call it test. Okay, we'll put a default bid of like $3 in there. Let's just add keywords, keyword 1, keyword 2. And so this is where you actually want to do your match types. There's several of them. The first is broad match. And by default, when you export keywords from the keyword planner, Google is going to put your keywords into your campaigns as broad match. Now, broad match is, well, broad. It matches to a whole host of search queries. So search queries match to keywords. So let's imagine that we were to be silly and bid on dogs. A whole millions of queries could match to the keyword dogs. Dog leashes, dog pictures, dog tuxedos, dog briefcases, dog booties. I mean, anything. And most of them aren't going to be having commercial intent. People are going to be searching for all sorts of stuff, pictures, videos, dog videos. I mean, so if you bid on something like dog, you're going to get a whole lot of really terrible, awful, no good traffic that's, first of all, not going to convert, and it's going to waste a lot of your money. So generally speaking, when you begin, you want to stay away from broad match keywords. Now, when you get a little more experience, you can use broad match keywords and aggressively add negative keywords. And negative keywords prevent your ad from showing for particular search queries, okay? So one thing that we might do is if we were to bid on just dogs and we saw a lot of search queries coming for like dog pictures and videos, we'd add videos or pictures as negative keywords, and then our ad wouldn't appear for those sorts of queries. So that's something you could do when you get a little more advanced and you already have a winning campaign. You need to find additional traffic. Broad match is really going to cast a super long, wide net for you. And we use it to sort of cast that wide net and find search queries that we might not would have otherwise seen from the regular keyword planner. But I'm going to advise you that when you start, don't use broad match keywords. So what do these match types actually look like? So first of all, there's broad match. That's the least restrictive. There's phrase match. Okay, that's more restrictive. And actually, before phrase match, there's modified broad match, and we'll go over that in a second. So there's broad, modified broad, there's phrase, and exact match. And let's just type them in here, okay? So if we just let's just take these out. Let's use dog leashes as an example. So dog leashes. This is broad match. If you just type this into Google, that's broad match, okay? Next is modified broad match. And modified broad match, whenever we put that plus sign in front of a word in a keyword phrase, that's telling Google that word must be present in a search query. So in this example, we have dog leashes, and they're both plus signs in front of both dog and leashes. We're telling Google that when someone searches for something, dog and leashes must necessarily be present in their search query in order for our ad to show. Now, what if we just had dog, leash, and leashes? So we just have the plus sign in front of dog, but we don't have it in front of leashes. That's telling Google that dog must be in the search query, but leashes necessarily doesn't have to be. Likewise, we could do the same thing. We could tell Google dog doesn't necessarily have to be in the search query, but leashes does. Okay, that's modified broad match. It's still fairly broad, but we have more control through the use of that plus sign. The next is phrase match. And you can see we have parentheses around our query. And phrase match tells Google that the phrase dog leashes must be present in the search query. So that means that our ad would show for dog leashes, of course. And it would show for dog leashes for sale. It would show for dog leashes on the cheap, red dog leashes. So as long as dog and leashes appear in that order in a search query, our ad's going to show. Okay. And that's a little more restrictive than modified broad match. The last match type is exact match. And we're telling Google that when we put these keywords in these brackets, that our ad should only appear when someone searches exactly for dog leashes. Now, Google's made some changes within the past year or so, where in the past, exact match dog leashes meant only dog leashes can show. But Google's made it a little more liberal in that they're now going to show synonyms and things like that, dog leash, because they claim that the intent is the intent behind, say, dog leash and dog leashes is more or less the same. And you can argue either way for that, but it's going to be a little more liberal now. But generally speaking, it's very closely going to match dog leashes. And so the reason we want to use all these different match types, is that different match types are going to bring in different types of traffic. Different match types are going to produce certain cost leads or certain cost sales, and so we want to measure them all separately. Another use of exact match is that when we have let's say, a broad match keyword and we're casting that wide net, and then we look at the search queries that came in under that keyword, and we see that, say, for example, red dog leash had a ton of search volume on it. What we can do then is we can create a separate ad group that just has red dog leashes in it, okay? And we have a specific ad speaking to red dog leashes, and we just put exact match red dog leashes in the ad group, the only keyword, okay? And what that accomplishes is we know that red dog leashes performs really well. So now it's the only keyword in that ad group. We can adjust bids accordingly, and most importantly is that we can have ad copy tests, right, that are just receiving traffic from red dog leashes. So we're eliminating a ton of variables, we're eliminating other keywords, and so we can really test ads and see which ad performs the best for the only search query, red dog leashes. I hope that makes sense. So when you're setting up your account, I would more or less recommend not using straight broad match. I would set up all of your keywords with modified broad, phrase, and exact to start. If you find that your campaigns aren't producing a lot of traffic or enough traffic, then go through and add the broad match versions of those keywords. Just keep in mind, keep a very close eye on it, check your search queries, and liberally add negative keywords to keep things under control. To sum up, there are a couple different match types. There's broad match, there's broad match modifier, or modified broad match, I tend to say, phrase match, and exact match, okay? Exact match is the most restrictive, broad match is the least restrictive, and I recommend staying away from broad match altogether when you first launch a campaign. If you're not getting enough traffic or you need more traffic, add broad match in there, but just keep a close eye on it. That's it for this lesson, guys. Any questions, Ryan at clickovation.com, or check us out in the AdWords Mastermind. Again, I will link down to that Facebook group in the email that this video appeared in, and I hope to see you there.